When you do nothing, nothing happens. Best time to take action is now.
This is the time to work on you and your business.
So I've created a group,
An online academy for professionals and entrepreneurs. Power Partners will help you
to start helping yourself.
Helped me change my life and my business.
Not a Toastmasters, it's not a BNI, it's not any of these, but it is. So it's all this stuff in one place.
Get the results that you deserve right now. So what are you waiting for? Let's make it happen.
see you in Power Partners.
Friday, everyone. Your real worth isn't defined by your net worth. What makes you valuable is how you use what you have been given. All of us have gifts. Make sure you're making the most of yours. Have an amazing Friday.
It is now the bottom of the hour. I'm excited to welcome Nancy Matthews to our program today. Nancy is an author of a book. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it in the carousel for you guys. There it is, The One Philosophy. I want to talk to Nancy not only about the re-release of the book, but also what it's been like for her to share the message with all of you guys. Nancy, great to have you on with us.
Hello, hello, hello. So happy to be here.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been showing that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a Chemo Buddy for Life.
We are a Buddies Network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are Chemo Buddies for Life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
I tell you, I want to keep that intro music for us. I love it.
I love that music.
I do. You know, I'm changing up some things because we always do, but I'm going to keep that music. Keep that music. So good morning.
Good morning, Miss Barbara.
Good morning, Miss Barbara. We're at the BBs. Yes.
Almost 3 years of BBs.
That's one thing that you're going to always remember. How long we've been on. That is amazing.
3 years.
Yes.
3 years. It has been such fun.
Yes, it has. From beginning to the middle to the end. I mean, I was just thinking about it. You're always talking about how long we've been on. And I was just looking back at some of the old ones been popping up in Facebook and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, we came such a long way from, figuring out some things, looking a certain, there's everything. So now.
I mean, when you think about it, we started out as the, Happiness 101 show. But you know what? The thing is, we bring on guests that teach us. Yes. And I truly believe that we have embraced some of the teachings that some of our guests brought to us. And that's one of the things that I love about this show is that we bring on people that can teach us stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's about the show or in our own lives or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to toot your horn. And I have to toot your horn. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I have to do this to give you the love, because you are the one, everybody, this wonderful lady brings on amazing, spectacular guests on this show that I learn from all the time, just like the one we have today, Mr. Oliver. He's going to come in a little bit, but another amazing guest that's going to be coming on. So, Barbara, thank you so much for, doing that, because that's what gives the I keep it the hot sauce of the show.
But I'm going to tell on Oliver, and so now I'm going to embarrass him.
Uh-oh.
Wait till you hear his voice.
He's looking like what he's about to do.
I am always in voice heaven when I talk to Oliver.
So you get
just putting it out there, so ladies, stay tuned. And I know he's listening.
Okay, so now the show is a different type of show now that we don't want to go.
He's got the best voice. But anyways.
So I might need to do a voiceover for a few of my commercials. And if you're talking, I'm going to probably hear this voice.
Oh, wait till you hear his voice. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for preparing me.
Yes.
And everybody else out there.
But it is true that we learn from the people around us when we're open to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe, Barb, that's one of that's one of our superpowers, is that we'll hear something and we'll say, oh, that sounds good. Let's implement that.
Yes.
Like when we were told to change the name of our show because there was too much competition. You have to be something that stands out. And besides that, this is just the beginning. Where do you want to go?
Yeah.
And that was like, oh. And then we were like, okay, well, what name are we going to have? And then one of our other guests came on, Jenny Erickson. She said, well, why don't you combine your the two things that you do? Mm-hmm. That'll work. And it's about listening to those around you. And so often people get stuck because, well, I already know that.
Mm. Oh.
Those are the four worst words in any language. I already know that.
Those like bad words. I mean, especially for a person that's a business owner or, innovator, whoever you are, you should never even express that. Never.
Right. No. And the sister is that, well, we've always done it that way.
Oh, that's the other one.
That's the other one.
That's another bad some words. Oh, we always done it this way, so we're just gonna keep it doing it. Yeah, how's it working for you right now? That's what I want to ask sometimes.
How's it working for you? Right, because I mean, it's like yesterday. I had Mother's Day on Saturday with my youngest, and we chit chat about all sorts of things because we have the similar views, and he does all sorts of things the same way, and he loves podcasts and all that kind of stuff. But we were talking about the companies that did embrace innovation and the ones, of course, that didn't. And so we got on the subject, of course, of Blockbuster. Well, they just kind of went down the tube in a handbook, and yet they had the opportunity to partner with Netflix and didn't do it.
Wow.
But now, one of the things that he said, yeah, but Mom, they're trying to come back because there's a lot of people that are still old school that they want to do the discs. They don't want to do DVDs, but they want to do discs. He says, oh, so now they're trying. And it's like, well, hey, all the power to them, because that was the birth of Redbox. People wanted, to go and get movies, but they didn't want to go to a store, wait in line, pay the fees, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just such a great conversation about being open to innovation.
Yeah. And you know what? Another thing, just to add to that, Barbara, I'm glad you brought that up. Also, partnership and community wise, because a lot of times everybody thinks like they have to be on their own island. See, if they would have came with Netflix, it would be a whole different story with Blockbuster. Now they're trying to go, it seems like they're trying to get through the back door now and try to figure out a way to say, okay, now how do we get back in this?
How do we recoup? Exactly.
And just to let them know, DVDs, hopefully they never come back.
Yeah. Exactly. And yet there are a lot of people that don't do live streaming. They don't want to do streaming. Okay, we all have which brings us to, we all have our own choices to make. Personally, I love live streaming.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't have a regular TV. I don't even, because I won't watch. I refuse. Okay, people, this is my lesson. If you're watching the news, cut it out. Quit watching the news. It's always so negative, or only watch the uplifting things, which is very few and far between. Isn't that sad?
It's like you have to search. It's like search high and low for the positivity of life. I was like, why is that?
Because that's one of the things that that Oliver talks about too, which I know we've talked about it before, is that the things around you influence the things within you. And it influences the relationship of the people that you're with. If you watch something upsetting on TV, well, guess what? That's going to impact how you feel about you, and also the people that interact with the people around you.
Yeah.
How many people know, like what are they called? Couch critics, that they're just, and Chesterfield quarterbacks. They get so upset and stuff, and it's like, okay, yeah. But
I'm like, this, Barbara, if you're gonna do that at couch critics, at least get paid for it.
Get paid for it.
If you are gonna do that, it's gonna be your livelihood. At least get a paycheck. But if you're just sitting there, then you're just dwindling in life. So yeah.
That's like one of the things that I've been working on. I work with people that are coming up to retirement and they have no idea of who they are outside of their job title and their job description and those kinds of things. But Malcolm again and he said, well, Mom, he said, you know what? A big thing too is athletes. We got on the subject of athletes, and because we just came out with a fantastic performance line of wellness products. And he said, Mom, he said, so many athletes, they have no idea what happens if they have a serious injury they get old. The shelf life of a professional athlete is so much shorter than a baby boomer or a Gen X. And it was like, oh, now that's an interesting, and it comes back to being open to learn. I went, oh, that's an interesting. So now I'm researching that.
Oh, that's another interesting thing that you can add to your services and products that you do. And just going to athletes, you're right. That's why I'm loving where in some cases I know I see movies and people talk about it where you need to get the education part. I mean, it's nice that you want to be in NFL and NBA and all that stuff, and it's all the glitz and glimmer of that.
Yes.
But you have to say, okay, what are you going to do after the fact, or what are you going to do, like you said, if something happens? And I see a lot of, older athletes ones that didn't do it. And I see the ones that really took the time and created a whole brand and business because they knew that they got to live there's an afterlife after this. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like planning for retirement.
Yeah.
And people either do it or they wake up one day and go, oh, yike, I'm 62. I need to apply for Social Security, but I have no other income besides that. Well, is that going to impact your lifestyle? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Or
and I tell people, And just like you said, Barbara, not just planning for retirement, but just planning for anything. Anything can happen.
Right.
You can, at 25, 30 years old, something can happen in your life, which, I'm not trying to put that out there to the universe, but it's true.
It can.
It's a reality. So you have to make sure that you prepare yourself for that. Because I know now I'm going back, I'm telling my age. I'm going back when I was in my 30s, and I was at my company not the company where I'm at, but another insurance company. And they came in, a financial advisor came in for us.
Right.
And they were talking about, you need to prepare yourself. And they were talking about look long, just like how you do, Barbara, when you get in your 50s and 60s, because at that time I was 30, get everything together. And they were talking about having, physical impairment or something, coverage and all that stuff. So we're all looking, because we're all like early, we're 20s, 30s, like, get out of here. We're not going to be spending this extra money on that kind of stuff. Some told me some little thing, no voice in the back of my head said, you need to look at this a little bit more closely. And I did. I bought it because it was so cheap too, because I was working for the company, so they had a discount on it. Barbara, I have been having that since that time. I am so glad that I purchased, those type of coverages and those kind of backup plans, because I got cancer 12 years ago. And if I didn't have that coverage, I found out they would have covered me for 4 weeks. I could have been off. Then after that, I would have been having to work without pay.
Yep. You were on your own.
I had to stay out for 10 weeks. And I was like, wow, I am so glad that sound in the back of my mind said, you need to look at this, because you never know what's going to happen. Never know. And that wasn't retirement. That was me just going through a health crisis. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's like one of the things that David and I we talked about when we first got married. That we talked about and just being prepared. And a friend of ours says, well, one of the biggest things is to have long-term care insurance, because most people spend more money in in their last years than they did to begin with. And when David took sick, oh brother, thank goodness for that long-term care, because it took care of so much of what happened. And so
it's a neat, some people be like, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to think about getting this. And I was like, I say, hey, we're all getting old. There's one thing that's not going to change in life. I don't care what they do, what they put out there, what innovations they do. They might be able to do surgery and stuff, but you're going to get older. You're going to get older. You need to prepare.
We don't have to age, though. We are, and one of my soapboxes, of course, is age is a number on a calendar. Absolutely. You do not have to age. Take the steps to keep healthy, be active. Like one of the things that people tease me about, because you'll hear a timer go off. Like I'm not when I'm on the shows, but when I'm just doing Zooms and stuff with people hear a timer go off. What is that, Barb? Oh, it's time to stand up. Because I have to set a timer to make sure I stand up, and then I stand up for 5 minutes.
Yes.
It is so important.
Yes. The doctor, I just went because I had my appointment 2 weeks ago, and the doctor told me, he said, Barbara, I know you work from home and stuff. He said, he said, you should be standing up at least every hour, every 2 hours, standing up, walking around, doing something. And I'm like, you're right, because my legs don't move like they used to. And I need to make sure I'm getting some blood circulation. I'm sitting around here, sitting in the chair. You like a little lump on the log. It's like, yeah, you feel it too. If you don't do it, Barbara, you can feel it.
You feel it. You feel it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And just so now people, it's like, oh, Barb, your timer's going up. My timer's going off. Okay, I got to stand up. It's like because I feel it when I don't. But anyway, so one thing I have to share with you.
Okay.
We're talking because then it'll be time to bring up all.
You're gonna bring Oliver on.
You're gonna love his voice. Anyways, let's embarrass him a bit more. Anyways,
be nice.
I am. Oh, I love his. You wait till you hear it.
I know you love it.
Anyways, you just hear that.
He's anything right now, and it's going to be amazing. Not the way you're talking.
It's going to be a great voice. But anyways, going back to this show has been on, and one of the people that we get to thank for the media that people have come to expect from ladies. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I was going to do some of the fun things about some of the first ladies.
Oh yeah.
And you don't have to be the first lady of a country. However, you do have to be the first lady of your life. So what are you doing to make an impact on the lives around you? And so one of the things that you and I love is doing this show. Well, part of it is from Eleanor Roosevelt, because she had a syndicated newspaper column. She had radio broadcasts, and she was one of the first ladies to have a prominent media presence.
Really? Okay.
Eleanor Roosevelt. And she was born in 1884.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was one of the first ladies to really have to use media to get her platforms out there. And then she went on to become a delegate for the United Nations General Assembly. Use what you have. You might think that you don't have a big platform. You're not the first lady of a country, the first lady of the United States. You might want to be. And if you're a little girl, if you're a young woman listening to this and you want that, go for it. However, we can be the first ladies of our lives. So what do we do to make an impact on the people around us? And that is it is so important to do that. And that comes back to us that we've been on the air for 3 years. It'll be 3 years next month.
You know, I'm just sitting real quickly because I know we got to bring on the King, Oliver, but I'm just sitting in this, what you just said, because just last week I was thinking about, I've been doing this, just not, the Time to Shine show with you, but the other shows I have. Exactly. And I'm always talking about, I always want to bring any show that I'm on, every show that I'm doing, producing, host, whatever. I always want to bring some positivity, some good content, some value to it. And I used to a long time ago be like, well, somebody used to tell me, well, you're not Oprah, you're not this and that. I said, first I was like, hey, really? You're going to go there with me with that? And then I started thinking, I said, okay, I might not be Oprah, but I'm Barbara. And I want to do what Barbara does on her platform, and whatever, if I touch 2 or 3 people, like we always say, Barbara, to me, that's a win. That's a win. So I'm glad you brought that up, for not just us thinking about that over again, but everybody. If you have a platform out there, if you have podcasts, if you're just talking to somebody one-on-one and giving them, just helping them in their lives, that's better than any person that's like the first whatever. I mean, you are helping somebody. Exactly. And this is good because it's Mental Health Month too. And it's also good to say this as well, to make sure that people understand that they are a treasure, that they do have value. I'm doing my check-ins, Barbara. I've been putting it out there. I tell people the check-ins. I said every day I'm checking in with at least 2 people. Yes. It could be just me, just message them, send them a little smiley face or a heart, or say I'm just sending you virtual hugs, whatever. It don't have to be a long conversation, but just let them know that they matter to this world.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, to me, it's like when we can look up to somebody. I mean, and did she at the time that she was living, when she was a little girl, did she ever imagine becoming the first lady of a country? No, but she just became diligent of being her.
By being you,
she was a strong advocate for human rights. She was part of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. She just took her passions and made them and pursued them. So if you have a passion, pursue it. You never know where it's going to lead. And now, I mean, she's touted as one of the most influential women in history.
Yes. Wow. Right. And just, lead by example. Like you said, everybody has their own platform, their own purpose. Like I said, the PPD, purpose, passion, drive in your life. Just indulge in that in your life. And believe me, you're going to make a difference in the world to everybody. Yeah. So with that said, let's bring on Mr. Oliver. He's a speaker, author, coach, relations coaching, personal and professional, and a men's empowerment coaching, which I love because I don't see too many of those, and we need more men empowering coaches out there. So I'm going to love this conversation. So Barbara, thank you. I got to thank you again for always sending in the best. But before we see King Oliver, we just need to do a quick commercial, and we'll be what, Barbara? We'll be right back.
I don't know this song.
My body becomes like a cement. Oh my God.
That was the better one.
Okay. Oh my God. It's like magic. Literally like magic.
And we're back. If you're just coming on, Time to Shine Happiness Show with the wonderful, amazing, spectacular Oliver.
Listen, I appreciate that.
You were right. The voice is there.
I'm happy to be here.
Voice is there.
I'm happy to be here. So listen, Barbara was embarrassing me. I was like, man, I'm having some allergy issues, right? So I'm like, man, I might get on and be like, Barbara Beckley might be like, oh my goodness, you were so wrong.
No, she hit it right on there.
Thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And,
yes, it's a pleasure for us to have you.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. And listen, Barbara, I'm gonna take you up on that. If you need some voiceovers, let's talk about that.
Oh, good. Yes, we definitely.
That's a side project of mine. Just
I do commercials and stuff, and I'm doing some new ones for myself and Barbara, and we're gonna need some of that. So see that again, meeting the right people at the right time.
Indeed. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Thank you.
Oliver and I met. Oh yeah, gee, how it's been a couple of years, I think, hasn't it been? I mean, only virtually.
A little while. Mm-hmm.
It's been a little while.
And but I had the pleasure of having other conversations with you as well. So
see, yes. So Mr. Oliver, let's hear a little bit, because I always like to hear the backstories when our wonderful guests come on and how they just got started before you became this amazing person and sound like, almost Barry White and everything. Before you got to that, what was you doing to get to that point?
Well, I tell everybody I'm an inner city kid, born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, to Caribbean parents. Never envisioned any of what I'm doing right now. Very, very interesting pathway between birth and now. I think I've done a little bit of everything. I think I've experienced almost, everything. There's some things I haven't, but all of those things, good and bad. There were some very crippling, if you will, disappointments in life. And all of those things, good and bad, I never realized would push me. You talked about purpose and passion a little while ago. And I tell everybody, and it's in my book as well, everyone has a purpose, a passion, and a path. And it's discoverable with a little bit of persistence. And I think through the course of my life, the disappointments, the things that I used as a badge of honor to act up, the things that were purposeful, that I didn't even realize were purposeful, all of those things have now led me to where I am in life. And so went through some things, went through some challenges, some career changes, some life happens kinds of moments. And now here I am using all of that as fuel and using all of that as a reference point that I can pull from to help individuals achieve what's on my t-shirt. So I don't know if you can see what's on my t-shirt. My t-shirt says 2020 before hindsight. So right here is the word before in the H. And it's essentially what you think it might be, right? I learned a lot of this in hindsight, went through a whole lot of nonsense to get to where I am, to be able to share this with somebody else. And so if I can provide some level of clarity on the front end to help some individuals achieve 2020 before they have to do something or experience something that could potentially throw off the trajectory of their lives, that has become my life's goal.
Love it, love it, love it. Yes. Ooh. Yeah, I always, you know how people that are younger than us, the first thing they say when you try to kind of tell them, well, I've been there, I went through this, and they're like, yeah, some will listen and some will be like, okay. It seems like they just, sometimes I feel like they want to go through something just to say, okay, I went through something. And I'm like, why do that if you could just enrich your life a little bit better if you just learn from the others that went through it? Hard knocks part.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the thing. We've kind of come up under this ideology, and I'm not saying that it's wrong, but we've come up under this ideology that experience is the best teacher. And although there is some truth to that, there are some things that you definitely have to walk through in order to understand. You don't have to walk through everything.
Right.
Experience is a great teacher, but so is example.
Yes.
Right.
And there are some things that I would much rather learn by example than by experience. So if you tell me, hey, listen, this is what I went through, and I use this analogy often. I used to use it with my kids when they were small. All my kids are grown now, but I used to use this often with them. Listen, the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying to you right now is for this very reason. If I go outside right now and I go right, and when I go right, I fall into a hole. When I get myself out of that hole and I come back in the house dusty and looking crazy, and I tell you, hey, listen, when you leave the house, go left. I'm telling you to go left so that you don't experience what I experienced. All you need to do is see the results of what happened to me to make up in your mind, okay, you know what? Pop said when we go outside, go left. Yeah, I'm going left because I ain't trying to do that.
Yeah.
So experience works. It does. And there's a space for that, but there is also a space for example.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love how you did the both. Yeah. I mean, because I always tell people, don't waste the time. Life is too short. I mean, we hear that all the time. And if you can learn from my experience and do a little bit better, maybe you still go through your own experience, but why waste the time going through that same, like you said, falling in that hole, getting all dusty, get yourself back up and everything. And I just told you this. And you say, okay, yeah, that will save me some time. Do I want to go through the whole 2 or 3 years that Barbara went through this pain? Maybe I'll go through this 1 year, instead of going through the whole thing. So I love how you said that, just to learn from other people. Yeah.
Yes.
And your own.
And one of the things that I always try to share with people is that, we've all had a journey. We've all had a journey, the ups and downs, the not so great things. So if you have, like, one of my favorite sayings is that if you have lived it, if you have gone through it, if you have survived it, make sure you start telling it, because of exactly what Oliver just said, that somebody else might come up and say, oh, gee, they've gone through that. Maybe I might do something different. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's the lead by example. That this is what I did, exactly what you just said. So people, you have to tell it. But what are people going to think of me? Well, they're going to think you're a survivor. Mm-hmm. They're going to thank you for telling your story. Yeah. Like some of the people that have come back from horrendous things, and now they're standing up on stage and going, hey, this is what I did. Like Matthew Perry and, a couple other ones that have just, he one of the things he said he was drunk and high for most of Friends.
Yeah. I heard, yeah.
Not a great way to live. Yeah. Not a great way to live. It takes a toll on you. But now he's being very open and sharing with people how to not do that.
Yeah. I think it's important to do that. It's important to share your story, and I say it all the time. That's essentially what we're doing. We're sharing with the work my wife and I do, with the work I do with men. The book, it's just about sharing our journey in hopes that it will be an encouragement and an inspiration to those who are on their own journey, right? To be able to look and say, hey, listen, I'm an analogy guy, right? So I like to paint pictures for folks. So if I'm going down the highway The only difference between me and the person behind me is that I'm further down the highway. We on the same highway, but if I can give you a call and be like, hey, when I passed mile marker 100, there was an accident. So here's what you're going to need to do so you don't get hemmed up.
Yes.
That's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're put here on earth for.
Yes.
Is to be able to be that guide for somebody else and that inspiration for somebody else. So I'm just trying to do my little part.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I told myself that it's my duty. This is what I say to myself all the time, to tell my stories from my life, because I don't want people to feel like they're alone. And because I felt alone before I heard other people's stories, before I got more into really, just connecting with people, I felt like I was the only person that was bullied. I felt I was the only person that people told me I had no value. I was stupid. I mean, I was hearing all of that. I was the only person that went through the cancer thing. I mean, and then I said, wait a minute, I'm not. And I said, okay, Barbara, why you feel like you're the only person? Maybe you tell your story so people have to feel the way you feel. And that's why I continuously so open when it comes to what I go through, because I want people to feel like, okay, oh, she did that. Oh, Alva, Barbara, other Barbara went through that. Yeah, we're human. We all dealt with it. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right. And that's why I like to bring up stuff like the first ladies. Did they think back then that, that they were going to be able to make such an influence on the world? You never know. That it might be you might be doing your own little thing and you're thinking, yeah, nobody's listening. But you know what? I remember hearing the story of, and now I can't even think of his name, but he was doing a revival and nobody was coming. And finally, this one young kid came in and sat down. Well, guess who that one young kid was? Billy Graham. And now I don't remember the person who was doing the revival, but Billy Graham changed the world.
Yeah.
So you never know. You might just be doing your little thing, but do your little thing.
And it's
going
to be impactful. Yeah.
You never know who you're pouring into. You don't know who you're pouring into to get them to that next level in their life.
That's encouraging too, and it's therapeutic for you, right? So for us, we never envisioned this. This started with people asking us for advice, for marital advice, and us looking at each other like, really, like we need the same help y'all need. So how's that gonna work out? And then doing a blog, and when I started the blog, I told my wife, I said, this is the only thing that we're ever going to do, because I was in the corporate space, I'm doing some other things. Let's do a blog. This is going to quiet the noise, so to speak. And then just realizing, man, that I'm being led to do something very, much more than that, and my wife and I realizing that we're being led to share more, to tell more of our story, because there is someone out there, even if it's one person. And that's how this whole thing mushroomed, man, is us just feeling the call, if you will, of being led into sharing our story in a way that thankfully has been impactful in the lives of some folk that we've been blessed to serve. So
right.
It's amazing, Oliver. You said how it started. Just a blog. We're just going to just a blog. That's it. We don't have the time. I got stuff going on. It's in your head. You're saying that. And then you go from a blog to look at this. And then sometimes you think back and say, it was just supposed to be a blog.
just supposed to be a blog. And then it turned into all of these other things, podcasting and YouTube shows and speaking, and
author.
Who knew, right. Writing a book. Like who, like if you told me 15 years ago that I was going to be an author, I would say, man, that sounds great, but I don't really see that in the cards. It sounds fine, but yeah, so it's a blessing to be, I don't take it lightly. It's a blessing to be able to share in that way. And so we just try to continue to be authentic and, help people build dream relationships personally and professionally, and walk men through winning in every area of their lives. And, we put ourselves on Front Street to do so, and we're having a good time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I look back, and I'm going to brag on Barb Beckley for a minute, because she started this network with 2 shows. And I had the privilege of being one of the people that came along with her and said, okay, yeah, let's do a show on happiness. Because back even just 3 years ago, people didn't talk about being happy. They talked about being successful, but they didn't talk about happiness as an actual thing to strive for. And here we are 3 years later. And now, and it's funny because a few weeks ago we had on Rich Kozak, and he's a branding guy. And one of the things that he said, he introduced me as a media host, and I'm like, who's he talking about? Oh, Barb's a TV host, and I'm like, what? No, that's Barb Beckley. But it was like I had to really own it now.
Yes,
we are TV host. This is a TV streaming channel, and we've been on for over 3 years. Oh, we've been on 3 years.
That's awesome.
Just to own what you do, but to your point, 15 years ago, did you think you were going to be an author and stuff? No, but you just take the steps, and I'm so grateful that Barbara was called to start a TV channel.
I love that you did that too. And I was listening when you were like, I couldn't believe, I scratched my head when you said, I was like, did somebody really say that to you? Like, you're not Oprah? Like, that's.
Oh, yeah. Oliver, that's just like small, that's one small tad of people that say, you're not, I'll be sitting there like, well, I'm thinking I want to get to that point in my life, because I'm reaching for that. And they're like, yeah, Barbara, okay, really? Okay, well, you're not going to be in my orbit because I don't need to hear that.
It's unfortunate too, because and I think everybody has some stories of that. We have a few stories, and one kind of heart-wrenching one in a sense, but we've been told that too. You're not good enough to do this, or you're not good enough to be in front of these particular audiences, is that kind of thing. And here's the thing, right? Yes, there is some level of excellence that you need to strive to achieve, right? In your given industry. That's a given, right? And there's a process to getting there. Yes. And part of that process to getting there is being able to partner with individuals. I talk about in my book, Shadowing Your Future. It's important that you're in a space where somebody will allow you to shadow your future, that they will allow you to see what they can become, right? So you guys are TV hosts. If I want to become a TV host, why wouldn't I figure out a way to partner with you? And why wouldn't you then now be willing to impart some level of knowledge? And that second part is the thing that we find to be very difficult. A lot of people don't want you to shadow them. For some reason, they don't want to give what they've experienced. They want you. I heard somebody say it to me like this: I got mine, you got to get yours.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with that. Yes, I realize that there's some work that I have to do, but here's the thing. I promised my wife, there was an experience that we went through where a guy just basically shot us down and was like, you guys aren't educated enough to hang out with us and be on the stages that we're on. After we had been referred to him by somebody that is held in high regard in the space. So after that, I told my wife, I said, promise me that you will keep me honest. I will never be that guy. If you come to me and ask, and Barb knows, if you come to me and ask me, hey, what are you using? How did you do this? How did this happen? No problem.
Yeah.
Because what I'm doing now in blessing you also becomes a blessing to me.
Exactly.
And it's not so much that I'm doing it for it so it can be a blessing to me. I'm doing it because it creates an environment around me that is conducive to joy and happiness, which is what this show is about. If I'm hoarding, yeah, I'm going to have it all. But if I build a wall up around myself, yes, I'll protect myself, but I'll also keep you out. What kind of life is that?
Right.
So we should be willing to do those things and share and spread the love and spread the joy, spread the happiness through telling your story.
Right. And so many people told me at the beginning, people aren't going to listen to a show about happiness. Well, yeah, they do.
Yeah. 3 years later.
Yeah. 3. And it was just funny, Barbara, because remember I told you when I first started my 2 shows under this network, I was almost saying, maybe I better not do this. I'm not fit for this. I don't know nothing about no show and podcast. And I said, shoot, I can't even know how to put my screen up. I mean, that was 5 years ago. I was like, what am I doing? But then some told me, that little birdie came back in my head saying, Barbara, remember, you said you want to help people get more visibility. You said you want to help people understand their value. You want to show them they need to show up. So you had to lead by example. And that's when I said, okay, I got to do this. And that's when you, Barbara, came in. You brought the guests. You know, we started this particular podcast for you, even though I was trying to leave out the back door.
With you. Was trying to leave me.
Oliver, I was trying to give her own show. I was saying, Barbara, this is yours. And she's like, no, I need a co-host. And then she said, I want you to be it.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I'm glad I listened because we wouldn't have this for 3 years now. So that's another thing, listening and really listening to, like you said, Oliver, we've been saying this about really just honing in with each other and building that partnership and relationship, because you never know the opportunities come out of there.
That's right.
Yeah, you never know.
That's
right. Yeah, and like for me, when Barb kept saying to me, well, Barb, this is your show. Yeah, Barb, I know me. If I had to do a show every week on my own, it wouldn't last, because I like to be part of a community. I like to be part of a team. So if that's you, then find a co-runner. Find somebody to run with, that you can do things together, that you can have a show. Like Barb and I, and so Barb, and of course, then after what? Took her a little while, but she said, well, I'm not going to give this up. I like doing this. Well, yeah.
I got into it, Oliver, after a while. I said, okay, you know what? I'm kind of liking this.
He's not giving it back.
Even though I said, okay, this is another show I have with Barbara now.
That's awesome.
And it's been fun. And we laugh, and we have brought so many people on that had never been on a podcast before.
Yeah, some of them, yeah. First time.
I've never been on a TV show before. I've never done an interview before. I've never done that. Oh, but and then they've come on and gone, hey, oh gee, that was really fun. And now I see them that they're doing all sorts of things.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Influence the world.
It's about influence
the world.
Pouring into people. Well, Oliver, I want to, before, because this is wonderful. I'm loving this conversation. I hate time always pass by so quick. But can you real quickly, because I want you to just dip into a little bit about the men's empowerment coaching. Because like I said, I don't see too many of that, and it's a need so bad. So can you touch a little bit on that?
It is a need. And I say, I very happily say that there are more spaces popping up now that are being, there's more space being held for men. Coming out of the pandemic, there is that need was put in the forefront, right? We are in a place. So my book is called Overcoming the Man Loss, for the man who wants to be his best despite what he was taught. And so that comes from these unspoken rules that we've had for eons that tell us that we can't show our emotions, or that the only emotion that we really can show is anger, or the fact that we can't let people see us sweat, or we can't look like we are incompetent, or we don't know something, we can't ask, or we got to fight for ourselves, or all these different things that happen, right? And for me, I realized that there were certain things that I held on to that as I got older, and especially as I became a husband and a father, were detrimental to my success as a man. And so for me, I took a lot of what I grappled with, put it in a book, talked about the self-discovery that took place in a lot of these areas: leadership, mental stamina, faith, respect, relationships, authenticity, altruism, trust, and talked about my journey of self-discovery. And then what I do now is, as often as I can, work with men around purpose, around the fact that adjustments are not a threat to your authenticity. Often we're afraid to make a move and make an adjustment because we don't want to lose who we are at the core. And you're not in danger of, your authenticity is not in danger if you have to make adjustments. Adjustments actually help you get the win, as I always talk about. And so for me, it's really just about showing guys that you can be multifaceted.
Right.
You can be the strong guy. You can be in the book. I say it like this: leadership often looks more like maintenance man than CEO. And so we have this CEO concept of what manhood should be like. We call the shots. We are the protector, the provider, the priest. We have these roles that are very managerial in nature, and that's fine. But we're not one dimensional in that way. You can win in every area of your life. There is an emotional component that is okay. There is a spiritual component that is okay. There is a psychological component that is critical. And all of these things should be looked at, and they should be dealt with and managed in a way that makes you a more holistic human being.
Right.
And a great guy. And so that's a lot of what we deal with. We work with couples, and typically I get a chance to pull the husbands aside, or if I'm able to go to men's conferences and things of that nature, I'm able to just, and again, it's about sharing my journey, because everything that I'm working to be influential about in somebody else's life is something that I went through. So I was that guy who was like, I don't want to change. I'm not going to make adjustments because you're not going to change who I am. And I'm going to take care of these tasks. If I'm providing, protecting, and doing this, then that's good. What else you need from me kind of person. So I know what that feels like. And I also know what the other side of that feels like. And I know what it feels like to be afraid to make that transition.
Right.
And so helping guide folk through that transition in a way that helps to alleviate the fear and allows them to embrace the newness of what this feels like, because it's freeing, right? So you can manage the fear in a way that allows you to be free. And that's a very different experience for a man. And so now we're in a space where more guys are realizing the need for that and are actually searching for that level of freedom. And I'm grateful to be in a space where I can do a little bit to provide in that way.
Yes. They're showing some love for y'all out there.
Oh man, Holly's in the house, and Byron Cooper, that's my big bro.
Love it. We're gonna have to bring you back, Mr. Oliver, because that's amazing. That's why I wanted you to talk. I needed you to talk a little about the men's coach, because it's much needed. I see it so much. And I've been kind of yearning for it to a point, especially for all, especially for, I'm just gonna put it out there, for Black males that I know and I talk to all the time, and the things that they deal with, but they do it in secret. And I was like, but you don't have to do that. You know, and it's like a whole part of them is missing because they feel like they have to do that. And I'm glad that you are saying, look, there is a place here. We need to be all, you have to be all of you, not just one dimensional. Yeah. So.
And many of us were taught that. So I can't even fault them, because many of us were taught that. I grew up, like, my father, I feel like is one of the greatest human beings in the world. Like I tell people all the time, I still at this point in my life, I don't feel like I could live up to what he's accomplished and what he's done. Right. But he grew up in an era where there was a specific role designated to the man. And that role did not leave a lot of room for an emotional component. It didn't leave a lot of room for a nurturing component. It didn't leave a lot of room for a familial component that allowed him to step outside of the protector, provider, priest role, because all of those things were designated to the wife or to the mother, right? And that's just how that they lived, how they knew. And most of the time we live how we know, and then we pass that on to our offspring. And there comes a time where, because it worked well for them to a certain degree, if we're really being honest, it worked well for them, even though if we look back, maybe some marriages weren't the best, even though they stayed together. Maybe some things didn't happen the way they should. But then we get, as time progresses, now we're in a space where we're realizing, okay, we're trying to do that. We're trying to move in that way, but there's something missing.
Right.
And for the longest time, no one told us what was missing. What was missing is the fact that you're trying to live a multi-dimensional life, one-dimensional. And at some point, you're going to run into some issues because of that.
Yeah.
And so now we're learning now that it's okay, because there was a time where it wasn't even okay. Like, I couldn't come to you as a man and be like, man, I'm struggling with this, or, I'm having a problem with that. People look at you like, oh, this dude is weak. He's soft. He can't really, he can't handle his own, that kind of thing. And now we're at a place where it's okay. Here's what's happening with me. Here are the adjustments that I may have to make as a result. And that is not a threat to my authenticity as a man.
Okay.
And hopefully, we can create this ripple effect of guys who are now moving in a very holistic way. They're looking at their mental health. They're managing their mental load. They're tackling their leadership in a way that is holistic in nature, and that's not just a top-down, do what I say kind of thing, but there's some examples in there as well, that they're handling their relationships, that they're building in a way that allows them to communicate on an extraordinary level, recognize, manage, and recover from conflict in record time, and build holistic, intimate bonds. Like, those are the kind of guys we need in this world.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. Woo. That was a mic drop. I'm be quiet. So, Oliver, we have to bring you back, sir. And, I just want to, and I know Barbara is probably going to do it too. I know she has her own shows and I have mine. We would love for you to be on those shows too, just to expound more about what you're saying about just the relationship coaching, the men coaching, and just what you think of, a lot of philosophy that you have. That's amazing. So we would love to have you back. Yes.
I'd be honored. I see my folks in there. Shout out to Damon Braxton, Pedro. I see you. Good stuff. Thank you for being here.
Loving on you. So with that, we're gonna Time to Shine, Happiness show again. Amazing show again. There you go, Barbara. Brought another power pack person, Mr. Oliver, and I'm glad I got a chance to get to know him more. And we're gonna see more of him. I just don't want to just say this is it. I don't like to do that. Just say see you soon instead of saying goodbye.
On your coach's lounge.
Yeah. So very, very. So with that, we'll see you next Tuesday. And again, as we always say, Barbara, what's your...
Make happiness the norm rather than the exception, and live your best life. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again, Oliver, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you. Bye, everybody.